everyone, welcome to the RotoGrinders Morning Grind podcast. I'm your host, Stevietpfl. It's Friday. It's October 25th. It is 2024. 10-game NBA slate to talk about here on today's podcast. Joined today by Timothy Buell, TastefulTides. Tim, what's happening, my friend?
Yeah, not much, Stevie. Yeah, it's an exciting time of year for sports. We got some football going on. We got basketball. We got hockey. We got the World Series. I mean, this is definitely the best time of year for sports, in my opinion.
Yeah, fun time of the year. You forgot NASCAR. Come on, man.
Oh yeah,
three races left of the regular, or three races left of the 2024.
I'm
NASCAR
not allowed to say this on the show, but I stopped playing NASCAR once football starts.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people do. It's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I love
I hear you.
I love NASCAR. I love NASCAR though.
No, I hear you. A lot of people take, like, once football season starts, takes it off. So I don't. I hear you. What's up, chat? Hope everyone's having a great Thursday night. Recording here on Thursday night, like always. Night before, getting rolling a little later than we normally do. Tim filling in for our good buddy Chief, and Tim was on NHL projections, so we appreciate Tim filling in and getting rolling here. And yeah, we're gonna jump right in. 10 games, a lot to talk about in the NBA streets, and yeah, I mean. We've had a couple nights of NBA now. I took Thursday off of NBA because of all the NASCAR stuff I had to do and NFL. So let's jump in. We get started here. Philadelphia at Toronto, 219.5 total. The 76ers, a 3.5 point favorite. Embiid out, George out. And then on the Toronto side, Barrett doubtful, Brown out, Olynyk out, Quickly doubtful, Walter out. So the biggest one there is probably Quickly. We'll talk about that in just a second. What do you like here for Philadelphia?
Yeah, so definitely, Quickly is definitely the big name on the other side. We saw Drummond play about 25 minutes in the last game. Not like, I don't know, like I'm not a huge fan, but we've seen him put up a massive ceiling. So he's only 6,800. So I don't necessarily hate Drummond in this spot. Oubre, I played in his last game. I played him, and he didn't do great. But I wouldn't mind going back here at 6,200. We know that he's a big time shot taker. But I think I'm kind of bearing the lead here with Philly, and I think Maxey's probably the top overall play on this team. But I did want to mention Drummond, and I did want to mention Oubre. And then for value, we saw quite a bit of ownership on Yabusele. And we saw quite a bit of ownership on KJ Martin. I don't believe KJ Martin started the second half. I think he lost his rotation spot in the after the first half. But I wouldn't mind going back to one of those two. Yabusele played a really, really strong game. He was 3K last game. Now he's up to 4K. I think there's still a little bit of meat on the bone. Shout out to Will on that one. So I don't mind him at 4K. I think he's a decent value play.
Yeah, I mean, the KJ Martin point is great. He played 12.5 minutes in the first half, almost 13 full minutes, and then played off the bench in the third quarter, played 2.5 minutes right on the bench, did not play the rest of the game. So I think that is a fantastic point as far as like KJ Martin is concerned. Obviously Maxey, huge usage rate. We know he's going to get the usage. He's going to be the scorer here. He's 9,100. I think that obviously he's a stud you're looking at on the slate. I kind of typically bunch my studs together and, kind of fine comb it and see which ones I really like. And it's typically ones that I think are better in like game stack scenarios. And, we'll talk about the other side, but there's a lot of value on the other side of this game. So the Toronto side, Quickly and Barrett, both doubtful is huge. I think you're paying up in this spot for Barnes, in my opinion. Like I think that Scotty Barnes is one of the top plays on the entire slate, and it's hard for me not to love him, not even just like him. It's hard for me to not love him in this matchup. I feel like with these guys out, Quickly had a 35% usage rate the other night. Barnes still had a 28.8% usage rate with Quickly on the floor for 14 minutes. So, and that game wasn't the best game in the world. Cleveland's a tough defense. Toronto lost that game by 30. I think this is a spot where you're looking at Barnes, and then I mean you're going to have some cheap pieces here, depending on like who ends up starting and not. I assume it'll be Mitchell, 5,300. I assume he starts. Grady Dick should play pretty decent minutes here. Yeah, but I mean, I think the main play here is Barnes, and I think he's one of the top plays on the slate.
Yeah, I mean Barnes is absolutely one of the best plays on the entire slate. I had quickly on the last slate, and he was absolutely smashing. I couldn't believe he was only like 45% owned in single entry stuff. I thought he was going to be a lot higher, and he was going to be an absolute smash play, and then he got hurt. So that ended my night pretty quickly. But yeah, Barnes obviously is a really amazing play. We saw some minutes out of Jamal Sheed. He's 4K. I think he's someone to keep an eye out on, possibly. He saw some fairly significant run. He played. What did he play? He played 19 minutes. I guess that may have just been blowout run, but he's something to watch out for. I think maybe as like a potential large field GPP play. But yeah, like Grady Dick, Scotty Barnes. Those are my two favorite plays from this team.
Yeah, so on the Shaheed thing, he played 6 first half minutes. So I assume a lot of that was he played a lot of third quarter minutes when the game was kind of getting out of hand. So I assume a lot of that was that related. And kind of looking at game flow here, Mitchell did start the second half. Mitchell really didn't do much with the run, and we've seen this from Davion Mitchell in the past, where like he just kind of busts. So like if he does become like super chalky, I could definitely see myself being underweight on him. I don't hate Boucher. I like him in matchups where I feel like team's going to play a little bit bigger. Podol probably going to be used in this game a little bit against Drummond, but I think it's Barnes. Barnes is the guy I want to target from Toronto. Brooklyn at Orlando is where we go next. 214.5 total. The Magic, 11.5 point favorite. My Magic looked fantastic on opening night against the Heat. We'll see. I'm not going to get excited yet. I'm just going to call it what it is. On the Brooklyn side, Bogdanovich out, Sharp out, Watford out. And then on the Magic side, Isaac already on the injury report. I hate this. He's questionable. We'll see if he'll play or not. He's a huge defensive player, but doesn't typically play a ton of minutes. Let's go Brooklyn here first. Brooklyn, they did play the other night. And I thought it was an interesting game. It was a close game. I think it was a 4-point game. Cam Thomas took that step that we were kind of hoping he would take, right? Like he played 33 minutes. He had a 35% usage rate in that game, and he really pushed the pace. So I love seeing all that. The assist rate was good. 7,800, tough matchup against Orlando. Orlando is going to be one of the best defensive teams in the NBA this season. I'm just letting everybody know that right now. Totally biased Magic fan, but I'm telling you, that's going to be a thing. Yeah, I mean, what are we doing with Cam Thomas and Brooklyn here?
I mean, he shot the ball 27 times.
Yeah,
from the field. He had 36 real life points. There's really nobody else on this team to take shots. Like he is the true alpha of this team. So like it would not shock me at all whatsoever. Like I know Orlando's an amazing defensive team, but he's probably going to shoot the ball at least 25 times again in this game. And at 7,800, I'll take that. So like you said, he really did push the pace as well. Like he's really just, he's a ball hog and he's a high volume shooter. That's exactly what we want in DFS. And I don't think he's going to be popular at all because I would say he might not project very well. So you're not going to get him in optimizers. I'm guessing anyway. So I think he's going to be a really, really strong GPP play.
Yeah, it'd be really interesting to see what his ownership ends up at. Because, I mean, like you said, the rest of Brooklyn is just kind of a mess. The whole Claxton thing, him not starting the other night, no idea what to expect just in general here. Because I know they want to get Clowney minutes too. I really like in this tough matchup against Orlando, it's Cam Thomas or nobody for me on Brooklyn. And I mean, hey, listen, the Magic looked fantastic the other night against Miami. They want to play pretty slow. They want to play defense. just no pace whatsoever. If you look at like individual pace stats, no one tried to push the pace. Maybe Anthony Black tried to push the pace a little bit, but nothing to like kind of report home about. Paulo Banchero, 35% usage rate. He is the superstar on this team, and he started the season off with an incredible first quarter. Him and Wendell Carter Jr. had incredible first quarters against the Miami Heat the other night. And then kind of brought it home in the third quarter. Franz, Jalen Suggs had a huge third quarter. Suggs didn't play a ton of minutes. That's super concerning for me. I'm a little concerned about his minutes. He is cheap, but honestly, not a ton standing out to me here in a matchup with Brooklyn. I think this is going to be a lower scoring game on the slate. Paulo is, I think, fine. I think Wendell Carter Jr. is probably still too cheap, though, at 5,100.
Yeah, I gotta backtrack real quick, Stevie. I forgot to mention Jalen Wilson for Brooklyn. He played 34 minutes off the bench. He scored 16 points. He's 3,700.
Okay.
I know that it's a bad on paper matchup, but if we don't get low price value opening up at 3,700, shooting guard, small forward, good MPE there. So I do like Jalen Wilson quite a bit. But going to Orlando real quick. I don't really love Orlando in this spot. Banchero is always playable. I don't really want to get to Suggs. I don't really want to get to Franz Wagner either. So it'd really just be Banchero in like, if I was making like 20 teams, I might get to like one Banchero and that's it.
Yeah, we're lukewarm on these two first games. They're two of the lowest totals we have on the slate. So we'll get there, I promise.
Yeah.
Charlotte at Atlanta taking on the Hawks, 230 total. Hawks a 5.5 point favorite. Green is questionable. Miller out. Williams out for Charlotte. Atlanta side, Bogdanovich, Bufkin, Barlow, and I can't read the Landry, I think. Can't read my own handwriting. Lundy out. So there you go. Definitely doesn't look like a U, Stevie. Good job. Obviously, I love this game. Will and I talked about Charlotte a lot on opening big slate. You and I did the opening game. It was like a 2-game slate, but we talked a lot. I couldn't stress enough how much I absolutely love LaMelo. I hope you listened. He absolutely smashed. Obviously, I want to talk about him for sure, but the other person I want to talk about here is Trey Mann. He played 28 minutes. He had a really good usage rate. He had 44 fantasy points. And he's 4,300. We talk about value early in the season. You obviously can't expect that type of production on a nightly basis for him. But with Miller already ruled out for this game, how do we not like Trey Mann in this spot? I mean, I think he's someone where he really benefited when Brandon Miller left the game, and Miller's already out for this game. So I have a lot of interest in Mann. I'm going right back to the well on LaMelo. 100% when he's 100%. I think LaMelo has a huge ceiling. Talked about this on the podcast the other day. Those are the two guys I really like in this spot. And like I said, with Brandon Miller out, I think Trey Mann is going to be the biggest beneficiary from Miller being out.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about how we were kind of lukewarm on the first 2 games. Well, not this game. Yeah. This game is pretty fantastic. It's got one of the highest totals in the entire night. This game is absolutely fantastic game stack. Love the call on Trey Mann. Have absolutely no issue with that whatsoever. And then obviously LaMelo Ball, 9,300. This guy should be a 10K player like every slate now, and he's not. And he's going up against Atlanta. So, I mean, he's going to absolutely smash. I would even consider like playing him in like, smaller field or like even like cash game contests, because I have that confident in his floor, let alone his ceiling. I think the trickier thing is going to be figuring out Nick Richards, because I bet he's going to project well once again. And I'm just a little bit worried about his ceiling, just because, I mean, we've got Ball and we've got Mann, we got Bridges. Like, I don't know, like he's a little bit more expensive than he was last slate. Like, what are your thoughts on Richard, Stevie?
Yeah, I mean, I hate arguing with projections for NBA. I feel like projections for
Right,
NBA one of the best sports.
right,
NHL and
right.
NBA, I think projections are just incredible for those two sports. They only played Capella 19 minutes against Brooklyn. They played a Kongwu more. It's kind of a smaller ball lineup. So that worries me a little bit about Richards. Like, I feel like Richards plays when Capella's out there. I don't know how much he plays against a Kongwu.
Hmm.
Um, so like that's my thought process, is just worrying a little bit about the rotation stuff, because I mean they could use Grant Williams against a Kongwu, and I feel like that gives them a small ball lineup too. So yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily hate it. I don't love it. It'd be interesting to see what he projects for. If he's projecting for a lot of ownership, like that's where I might kind of just be different.
Hmm.
Everyone, I say this all the time, but everyone knows this. I play 1 to 3 lineups for NBA. Most of the time, it's one. Um, on this slate, it'd be one. I'll tell you right now. My kids have a trunk or treat event, so I know it'd be one. Um, So yeah, and like there'll be some talk about like Seth Curry starting the second half for Brandon Miller. He scored 4.5 fantasy points in the second half of that game. So Seth Curry experiment just not there for me. I think you really want to target Trey Mann. Yeah, and LaMelo.
Yeah, I agree.
Trunk or treat, yeah, you go like so it's at their school, and like teachers make like they decorate their trunks and they give out candy to the kids. It's really fun. It's a lot better than having to go house to house. We typically do like 3 or 4 trunk or treats, and then like when actual Halloween day comes around, we only have to trick or treat for like 45 minutes, and the kids are satisfied. So
Come on, come on, Derek. You're better than
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
you never know. Um, Atlanta side of this game, the Hawks.
Oh yeah.
Charlotte plays fast. Charlotte does not play defense. Listen, I love a Kongwu. I think that the Capella thing is a real thing, and I think they want to give a Kongwu minutes, and I think a Kongwu is going to absolutely smash today. I love the fact that he's power forward center. He's one of my favorite plays on the entire slate, and I don't think that's going to change unless we get a lot of injury news. So yeah, Kongwu high up on my list. Listen, it's not a shock to anybody. It's Biggs against this team. It's Biggs against this team. Play Biggs against this team. Love a Kongwu. I don't mind Trey Young, Jalen Johnson. Dyson Daniels played 34 minutes, scored 38 fantasy points the other night. He's only 4,600. Kind of went right into that like Murray role. So if Dyson Daniels is going to get 28 plus minutes, he's probably too cheap against Charlotte. So yeah, I mean, a lot of good pieces to like here for Atlanta.
This game has like ultimate game stack written all over it. It's only a 4.5 point spread too, so really not a lot of blowout risk. Love a Congo. What I would say real quick is that if I was making several lineups, I'd throw in some Capella just in case, because he can absolutely crush if he plays 24, 25 minutes. I do agree with you though. I do like a Kongwu better. And I would not play them both in the same lineup at all whatsoever. But I would sprinkle in a little Capella. I love the Daniels call. I think he's an extremely smart play. Point guard shooting guard eligible. Love that play quite a bit. But yeah, like you can build into this game in so many different ways. Like you don't have to do like you can do it in like a contrarian fashion. Like you don't have to go, well, I was about to say you don't have to go ball, but I think you have to play ball. But like you don't have to play certain guys and still get multiple pieces of this game at low ownership. So like this is probably my favorite game stack on the entire slate.
Yeah, I mean, I think you feel really good about 3 to 5 players from this game in your lineup.
Yep. Yep.
So I couldn't disagree. I can't disagree with you. Detroit at Cleveland is where we go next. This game is currently at 225. Cleveland, a 10.5 point favorite. We'll start with the Detroit side. What do we like here for the Pistons?
Yeah, so not a whole heck of a lot. I'm a little bit worried about blowout in this game. I do not like streaming players against Cleveland, especially on the road, especially one of my options are the Detroit Pistons. So, I mean, obviously you can play Cade, but this game better stay close if Cade's going to like get you a GPP winning score. So I think he would really be it for me. I don't see really any value sticking out that I would want. I don't want to play Tobias. I don't really want to play Jaden Ivey either. So it's really just Cade, I think, but I don't even really like that much.
Yeah, I mean, this is a really tough defensive game for Detroit. Cleveland looks like they're going to be really good on defense again. They were one of the toughest teams in the NBA last year against point guards and guards in general, like even shooting guards. And I don't expect that to really change this year. So I'm really kind of out on Detroit in this one. I mean, I think there's better, overall value plays, right? Like Tim Hardaway Jr., I just don't see myself getting to him. Ivy is like 6,100. I think there's just better value plays. Like go back to that game that we just talked about, and there's 3 players in the 4 and 5K range that I would play over anybody on this team. I mean, Hardaway drew the start, and we talked about like what to really expect, like who was going to start and who wasn't. He started, he played 28 and a half minutes, but I just think there's better value today. And I don't know if this game necessarily stays close. I think this is one of the games where you have the blowout risk. I don't like talking blowouts in NBA, but I think that you do have a blowout risk here. I mean, Cleveland just beat Toronto by 30. This is a really good team. If this game stays close, it's probably Cade Cunningham, right? Cade's probably having a big game, but I don't know if I could play him today. I think there's better options at 8,500. On the Cleveland side, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and if this game stays close, it's going to be Evan Mobley too on the other side. Absolutely crushed. Last game only played 27 minutes. No Cleveland player played more than 27 minutes on the entire team because they crushed Toronto. So if this game stays close, it's going to be Mobley. I would assume that's doing a lot of damage. It could obviously be Allen as well. It could be Mitchell. But if I had to choose one player from Cleveland, it would definitely be Mobley for me.
Yeah, Mobley looked great the other night. Just overall, he had a really, really good game. So, obviously, I think that he's someone up towards the top of the list. If you think this game's going to stay close, he's the guy you're probably playing. I mean, he in 26 and a half minutes, he scored 49 and a half fantasy points. So, he looked great. Mitchell looked good. Allen looked good. So yeah, I mean, Dean Wade drew the start. We were kind of wondering like with Strus out, like who is going to get the minutes. Wade got the start, and I mean, he only played 19 and a half minutes, but the game was over. I mean, this game was over midway through the third quarter. It was a 25-point game at the 7-minute mark. So yeah. It's really hard to say that, but I mean, if you want like a full-on punt, I think Dean Wade would be my punt play here. If this game stays close and you're building like a game stack and you're playing like Mobley, Cade Cunningham, and you want a third piece that's just really cheap, I don't hate the idea of throwing in a Dean Wade. He's going to shoot, and like he had 21 points, 21 fantasy points. He is 3,700, and he never checked in for his fourth quarter minutes in that game. So, if there's a little bit more upside in that potential price tag. Indiana facing New York Knicks is where we go next. 228, 7.5 total. Knicks a 5-point favorite in this one. Jackson's questionable. Wiseman's out. Precious and Mitrov out for the Knicks. Starting with the Pacers side here, I'll give a hat tip to our boy Chief. He was all over Piasco, or my gosh, he was all over Siakam. And Siakam had a really solid game. What do we like here on the Pacers side?
I kind of like Miles Turner going up against Cat in this spot. That's who my favorite play would be on Indiana. Obviously, you can get to Tyrese Halliburton or Siakam if you want to. I just want to attack Cat, so I'm assuming he's going to be guarding Turner. So I like Turner in this spot.
Huge thing for Miles Turner the other night, getting 36 minutes.
6 minutes, yeah.
Big thing for him. Like, you know the usage is going to kind of be spread out. Like Halliburton had 20 and a half, and then we saw like 24 for Siakam, 24 for Turner, and 23 and a half for Mathurin. So you expect that to be kind of spread out. But yeah, I like the Miles Turner call. Turner, Siakam, I think are your targets here. As much as I like Halliburton, I don't know if this is necessarily the spot. I love him. I like the Miles Turner call a lot. On the Knicks side, man, what a terrible first game.
They looked they looked really bad.
They were off sync.
I know it was against Boston, but still, they looked awful.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing that's like jumping off the page here, and I mean, a lot of it is just kind of they faced a really tough Boston team, and it's really hard to love anything here. I mean, I think Towns will play better than he did. I don't think he could necessarily play worse. So there is a little bit of upside with Towns at 8K. I see Yeezy talking about McBride. Shot the ball well the other night. He had 22 actual points off the bench. They're going to need some bench scoring. Talked about just how thin this bench is. It's McBride, Payne, Sims off the bench, basically is what they ran out. So I think McBride at 4,100 is probably still too cheap. If that game stays close, does he get to play a little bit more? Kind of looking at it, he played 8.5 minutes in the second quarter. He ended up around 12.5 minutes, right around 13 minutes in the first half. So, like, you're kind of picturing 25 to 28 minutes for him at 4,100, I think is good. So, Miles McBride is someone a lot of us in the industry were high on coming into the season, and he really didn't disappoint. He didn't have like a ceiling game, but he didn't disappoint. You wanted to do a little bit more than just shoot, but hey, we'll take shooters.
The only other person that I would mention real quick is Josh Hart. He only played 24 minutes last game. He should be playing like 38 in this game, I would imagine. And he's only 5,700. I don't mind him at all in any format.
The only caution I'm going to throw to the wind is they early checked out OG and they brought OG back a little bit with Bridges in that first half, and they had like a lineup with like Towns, Bridges, and OG out there at times, and like I don't know what to really expect from Hart minutes wise this year. I think that
really you don't think that
I think he plays 30, right?
Right, but he's not gonna be like a 35-minute guy, you don't think?
I don't think he'll be a 37, 38-minute guy.
Yeah.
I could see the reason I say this is in a blowout game, OG and Bridges both played 34 minutes. And if you're expecting Cat to play 30 minutes to 35 minutes and you're expecting Brunson, they want to get McBride minutes. And I feel like McBride is the guy. He was shooting the ball and playing so well when he checked in that first half. Like, he took away a lot of run from Josh Hart. And they ended up checking out OG eventually and getting Hart in there. But yeah, I mean, I think it's a lot more crowded than people realize with this New York team now that they have Cat. And yeah, I mean, it'd be interesting to see, but I think Josh Hart's like a 30 to 32 minute guy instead of a 36 to 38 minute guy. And I could be wrong. It is Thibodeau. So never wrong betting against that guy. Memphis at Houston is where we keep going here. 221 total. Rockets a 2-point favorite in this one. I will go to the injury report here. Triple J is doubtful. Jackson's out, Kennard's out, Spencer's out, Williams is out for Memphis, and then Adams is out for Houston. We'll go Memphis first. What do you like here for Memphis?
Yeah, I mean, this game's in Houston. Houston doesn't play like as fast as they used to, so it's like not as amazing of a spot as it used to be. But this is a close spread, so this game should play pretty tight. I don't know if I want to go back to Zach Edey. I almost prefer to like play Santi Aldama. I obviously John Morant's always a great play, but I think there's just better point guards right around that same price tag. We've already talked about a couple of them. So he kind of falls a little bit, even though he's always got tournament winning upside. But really, it's like you can take shots on Edie in GBPs. But I mean, there's not really one particular guy that I'm super confident in for Memphis.
Yeah, I mean, Desmond Bain, 34% usage rate the other night. John Morant only ended up around 28%. I kind of would have assumed those would have been flip flopped. And I see Yeezy in chat talking about Sante. He had a 25% usage rate. He ended up playing 31 minutes, which led the team in that game against Utah. My biggest concern is Memphis played a ton of people. Santi was the only person that played over 30 minutes in that game. They basically what they told us in the 126-124 game against Utah is they have no idea what the rotation is.
Right.
That's what they told us. I don't trust anybody on this team. I'll just go ahead and say that. I will say Desmond Bain played absolutely garbage in the first half of the game. He only had 6 fantasy points in the first half. He had 34 fantasy points in the second half. Shooters are going to shoot, so I don't necessarily hate that. Ja will eventually get Ja's type stuff, but I love seeing Ja's assist rate go up. I think that's a huge bump for his like overall ceiling on those games where he could score like 30 actual points and maybe get like the double-digit assist as well. Don't mind Sante. I will say I don't trust anything from Memphis for the foreseeable future. I can't play a team playing 9-10 deep.
And it's even harder because Edie got into foul trouble. So it's even harder. It's even harder to predict that rotation. So that Edie situation, it's pretty tough. I still think if I had to choose one, it would be Aldama. But that's it for me. I have no faith in the minutes of really any of these guys.
Houston side, we saw a huge game from Sengun. That's my dude. He got Charlotte opening night, and he absolutely crushed for us like we expected. He had a 30.7% usage rate in that game. It was a huge game for him. 66 fantasy points. Yeah, I mean, I don't hate the idea of going back to him in this spot. I think he could potentially beat up on Edie. Edie is young, so I could see Sengun having another big game. I don't really know what else to love here. I mean, it's not like this team is going to push the pace a ton. I like Sengun. I think if you're looking for upside outside of him, it's probably Jalen Green, but I don't love it.
Yeah, it's really just Sengun for me. I really don't have that much interest in anybody else. Yeah, like FEV plays huge minutes, but the thing is, like, he's just struggles with the shot sometimes. Like last game, like 4 for 18. That's like too typical with him. So it's like huge minutes, but like he just never seems to like get there. So and I think point guard is too loaded to waste a spot with FEV. So I think for me it's just Sengun, and that's it.
All right, we got Chicago heading to Milwaukee to take on the Bucks. Bulls 232 total in this game. Bucks a 9-point favorite. We'll start here with Chicago. Hey, I mean, I feel like we were really on point with our Chicago analysis the other day. Zach LaVine had a 29% usage rate. Outside of that, it was very spread out. The minutes were Vooch, Giddey, White, LaVine, kind of exactly what we expected on the podcast, and I expect it moving forward. I think like Zach LaVine is your upside guy. Vooch is your floor guy. And there's going to be games where Giddey and White kind of have big games. And I think those are the way that you approach playing the Bulls. I mean, Patrick Williams played 24 minutes. AU played 24 minutes. And that's really it. So I think you could definitely go back to Zach LaVine in a tough matchup here against the Bucks.
So outside of that Charlotte-Atlanta game, Zach LaVine is probably my favorite play on the entire slate. Outside of that, like Ball, Young, Kongwu, that whole game, LaVine, I absolutely love. You don't have to waste a point guard or center spot on him. He's shooting guard, small forward, which is amazing. I think he is way too cheap for a guy who's going to be playing 35 minutes. He should absolutely smash this price tag. If he keeps playing 35 minutes a night, he's going to be like an 85, 9K player. So I think he's like 1,500 to 2,000 too cheap. I would jump on board while you still can. This should be a reasonably decent matchup for him. And I absolutely love him. So like if he fits like in your builds, like any kind of or around like a game stack around that Charlotte game, I would do that for sure.
Bucks side, what do we like here for Milwaukee?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we can always play Giannis. I don't, as of right now. I mean, obviously this is a first look podcast. As of right now, I don't think I'm going to be rostering Giannis unless we get a lot more value. But I mean, he's always in play. I don't really like Lillard here. I don't really like many of these cheap pieces from Milwaukee. So maybe like I don't know. I don't know. I don't really like Milwaukee in this spot.
Gary Trent played 34 minutes. I mean, with Middleton out, if Gary Trent's going to play that many minutes, I think that is something to note.
Yeah.
I don't know if we get to him today. There's so many good value plays that we've already talked about. I don't know if you're going to necessarily need Trent. Like if you're playing 150, maybe that's where you get some Gary Trent. He played a lot better in the second half than he did in the first half, but he played a ton of minutes. So, yeah, I mean, Prince played 30 minutes and started. I thought that was a little bit interesting. They obviously want to get Bobby Portis his minutes. They use that like really interesting, like Giannis, Bobby Portis, like now Prince, like rotation of those three guys to try to make like sure like two of those guys are on the floor. I thought it was really interesting that Brook Lopez played 35 minutes on opening night against Philadelphia. Especially like when you think about that game and Drummond only played 25 minutes. So I was a little shocked by how much Brook Lopez played. He's 6K. If they're going to use him that much against Vooch, maybe. But honestly, I don't necessarily love this game. I like the Chicago side. I like Zach LaVine. I don't know if I necessarily feel the need that I have to run it back with anybody from Milwaukee. My favorite play from Milwaukee will probably be Lillard, just because I think like he can go for 50 just as much as Giannis, and he's a lot cheaper than Giannis. But not a game that I love. All right, Golden State at Utah. 232 total in this game. The Warriors a 2.5 point favorite. On the injury report, Steph Curry already on the injury report. Green already on the injury report. Both questionable. Melton questionable. Utah, nobody on the injury report. They're good to go. We'll start here with the Warriors. And, I mean, what do you like here for Golden State and their 15 million players they played on opening night?
I was going to say, I mean, they're supposed to be playing a 12-man rotation this year. So, and they
did it. I don't know if it's going to be a 12-man rotation for what it's worth, but I wouldn't be shocked if they have a 10-man rotation.
I think they're definitely going to have a 10-man rotation. Yeah, I mean, this is a tricky situation always, but it's only a 2.5 point spread, a very, very high total, similar to like Bulls Bucks, similar to Atlanta, Charlotte. So this is going to project decently in terms of overall fantasy points, but individual players to pick out for Golden State, like, yeah, I mean, you can always play Curry. He's under 9K, right? Like that's always fine. But after that, like, who are we really that confident in? So, Podziemski maybe at under 5K. I think he's decent. But I don't really love any Golden State player here just because their minutes are like so spread out.
You know who I want to play? I want to play Buddy Hield. He didn't get his fourth quarter run because the game was out of control. It was 27 points when the fourth quarter started. But they did like spurts with him. He played 6.5 minutes in the first quarter, 4 minutes in the second quarter, 5 minutes in the third quarter, and then didn't check back in. He scored 31 fantasy points. He had a 39.5% usage rate. When it was on the floor, he was chucking. He only got 14 minutes. If Buddy Hield can get like 23 to 25 minutes in this game, he could easily pay off 5,200. So I don't mind the idea of Buddy Hield for large field tournaments. But outside of that, I'm not touching this like whole situation. I really applaud Kerr for Jackson Davis starting over Looney. It didn't make me Looney, so that's great. Utah side, what do we like here for the Jazz?
Yeah, so definitely can get to some Lauri Markkanen. I don't mind that play. Like I said, it's going to be a pretty high total game. I think going back to Colin Sexton, he was pretty popular and he busted pretty hard. So I think going back to him, I think is a sensible way to go about it. He's only 6,400. He's not very expensive at all. Other than that, like Markkanen and Sexton, and maybe take some stabs on Walker Kessler.
I'm playing him.
Yeah. So I think Kessler's pretty interesting. I just kind of like, I don't know. I just like that Atlanta game so much more, but I think Kessler's super interesting for GPPs.
Yeah, I mean, Markkanen is your upside guy. Walker Kessler, he's a beast. The fact that he got the start, bring it on. Let's go. Come on, Utah. If he starts again, I have a ton of interest in him. Taylor Hendricks started, played 28 minutes and scored 25 fantasy points. He's another potential value play at 4,500. But Walker Kessler, if he's going to play 28 minutes at 5,500 against TJD and Looney, this guy is going to crush. He's going to rebound 20 times in this game. So really like Kessler at 5,500. He's another one of these, like, I wouldn't necessarily call him like a huge value play, but he's in that like mid value range that I like a lot. I like Kessler a ton. Markkanen's upside I like. And another one of those spots where I like don't necessarily feel like you have to run it back with Golden State. I think you could play the Jazz.
Do you like Kessler over Okongwu?
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to choose, right? Because Okongwu is a power forward center. I could play both of them.
True.
But if I had to choose, I'd take Okongwu.
Yeah.
Bigs against Charlotte.
Right.
I think you could play both of them.
Yeah, you definitely can play both of them. I was just curious who you thought of, like, straight up between the two.
Might have both of them in my placeholder lineup as we're going here. So just saying.
Awesome. Yeah.
Fair enough. All right, 2 games left. We got New Orleans at Portland. 218.5 total. Pelicans a 5.5 point favorite here. And to answer your question, Derek, I like Kessler and Turner a lot. I think that's a really fair 1v1. I personally think I would go Kessler cheaper and just hope the production's very similar. I think you could play either one of those guys too, though. All right, New Orleans, Portland. I said 218.5. Pelicans a 5.5 point favorite. Murphy and Murray out for New Orleans. Sharp, Thibault, Williams out for Portland. We'll go Pelicans first. What do you like here for New Orleans?
Well, we got to attack this Murray situation, so I'd assume like getting to like CJ McCollum is going to be
how unlucky, man.
I know.
I hate it for DeJounte.
Did you see that play? It seemed like nothing happened. It was very odd.
And like it was at the end of the game, so I'll be honest, I don't know what to think on who kind of falls into that role. I have thoughts on like who I think could potentially do it, but we'll see. So I think they move. I'll say this. I think they move CJ McCollum more to the point, and I think they start Hawkins. That's what I would do if I were them.
That's what
I'm not an NBA coach.
Yeah, me neither. But that's what I assume they would do is make McCollum the point. Yeah. So I mean, I obviously love CJ McCollum in this spot. Would you say they're 5 point favorites? I can't.
Yeah.
Oh mine. Yeah. So like, yeah, pretty decent favorites, but not like anything out of hand. So love McCollum in this spot. Obviously can't, avoid Ingram either or Zion. I mean, all these guys are in smash spots. It's really just who do you prioritize? I would prioritize CJ McCollum. And then like, are we gonna get to like any Tice here or anything like that? I don't think so. Because like I think I'm just gonna stick to like the big three of the Pellies here.
Yeah, I assume Theis goes to the bench and Zion starts over him and Herb Jones plays, but it'd be one of Theis or Herb Jones going to the bench, in my opinion. So
Yeah.
we'll see. It'd be really interesting. Like New Orleans is really tough to talk about until we kind of have a starting lineup and it's a late game. So you might not have a starting lineup where like it's one of those situations where you leave your guard forward or utility spots open if you can and kind of adjust if you need to, if you like this spot. I don't necessarily love this spot. They played a really close game against Chicago. It kind of got a hand late, but they really spread out their minutes too. And I mean, that is Zion's coming back and Murray will be out, but kind of assume Zion plays 30 minutes and Murray played 30 minutes. So this is just one of those ones where I don't really love anything on the New Orleans side. This game has a low total. It's not expected to be like this huge pace game. So we'll see what the like official stats and stuff look like when we're looking at the starting lineup. But right now, outside of Brandon Ingram, I don't have a ton of interest in New Orleans. CJ McCollum is a good scorer and he can assist, but he doesn't rebound. So I worry a little bit about like CJ McCollum's like overall ceiling. I think he has a decent enough floor where if you want to play him, go right ahead with Murray out. But Zion's going to be back too. I mean, the Brandon Ingram 37% usage game is not coming again. Zion's going to eat into that. I assume that BI probably ends up closer to like 30. CJ McCollum and Zion are a little bit higher. I'm saying Murray's 26%. Zion will get a lot of that too. So yeah, I mean, I don't hate Zion in this spot, but I don't love him. And then on the Portland side, I don't know what to think with the Trailblazers. Like they looked awful against Golden State. I will say they had a really tight rotation, and that's what we're kind of looking for early in the year. Advia played 27 minutes in the blowout. Scoot played 27 minutes off the bench. Needed one more assist. Scoot, what the heck? Couldn't hit our prop for us. But yeah, I mean, they kind of played their guys. And I think that at the end of the day is something to kind of note is they had a really tight rotation, and that's what we're looking for early in the year.
Yeah, like I kind of like Jeremy Grant in the spot, 6,200. I think he's a decent tournament play.
See, I like his running mate. I like Kamara.
You do? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yep. I don't mind that at all. And I don't mind Scoot either. He shoots the ball a ton. So
he's the usage off the bench. Like we talk about like second team or second like team usage all the time. And like he's the guy off the bench.
Yeah, he's the big time usage guy off the bench. I really don't mind Scoot, only 5,500. But like you said, this is not a good game environment, and the slate is full of good game environments. So I don't want to build a ton into this game. So really just Scoot or Grant for me. And it sounds like Kamara a little bit for you.
Yeah, Kamara, Scoot. Well, excuse me. That I was telling Tim before the podcast, I had some hot honey barbecue sauce earlier, and it's like making my nose. I'm so sorry about that. I don't know if you guys heard it or not because my mic is awesome, but yeah.
Well, I heard it. So
yeah, I'm sure everyone heard it. It happens to the best of us. I will say, I still like Danny Advia. I talked about him on the podcast the other day. He didn't get any like late fourth quarter run because the game kind of got out of hand. So if you think this game is going to stay closer, I don't mind him. I like Scoot and I like Kamara. Finish it out with Phoenix at LA taking on the Lakers. This game has all the potential to be a late night hammer. It's a 228.5 total. The Lakers are a 1.5 point favorite. Both of these teams are good basketball teams. Okagie's out for Phoenix. Vanderbilt and Wood are out for the Lakers. Let's start with Phoenix Suns here. What do you like for this team?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with that Durant price. Is it because he's not playing? Like, how is he so cheap? I don't understand it. So I mean, I absolutely love Kevin Durant. That price tag.
He played 43 minutes the other night for
Right,
anybody
right,
that's curious.
right. Like, I don't really understand that
Well, I mean, and
price.
I get like 5 minutes of that was OT, but that's still 38 minutes.
Still, yeah. I mean, it doesn't matter. This game should be absolutely fantastic from a DFS and real life perspective. I can't wait to watch this game. So I absolutely love Kevin Durant. So like that's just like so cheap for him. And I don't mind Booker obviously as well. But other than that, I have no interest in the Suns. I guess you could play Beal, but I like Booker and Durant a lot more.
Yeah, Booker, I mean, Beal is just like a shooter at this point of his career, so I don't know if he's like
Yeah.
your upside guy on any slate. Kevin Durant had a 30.5% usage rate. Tyus Jones played 30 regulation minutes and had an incredible fourth quarter, like 17.7 fantasy points in the fourth quarter. Him and Kevin Durant and Booker kind of did their things late in that game. So maybe Tyus Jones can get rolling a little bit earlier. Love the fact that they brought in Tyus Jones and have an actual guard here. We talked about this the other day on the podcast as well. I'll go back to the well on him at 5,300. Like this 4K 50, like 5,500 range is incredible on this slate. There's so many good plays in this price range today. Lakers side, love what JJ Redick is doing with Anthony Davis after one game. If they're going to use Anthony Davis the way that they used him the other night, and JJ Redick is going to commit to playing Anthony Davis like Jokic, this guy is going to have an incredible season. He has one of the highest ceilings on the entire slate. He should be considered a top play moving forward until, and like it's one game sample, but I don't think we can like not watch what JJ Redick was doing and be like, why wasn't more people doing this with Anthony Davis? Like, what the heck?
Yeah.
They played their guys. All 5 starters in that game played over 33 minutes.
Yep.
They used Vincent Connect off the bench, a little bit of Hayes, a little bit of Christie. Christie got into foul trouble, but really wasn't doing much but fouling people. I think it's Anthony Davis, and I think it's Hachimura. Those are the 2 targets. I don't mind Austin Reeves if you're playing like 150 and you want to just kind of get a little bit different with a little bit of Hachimura, but it's Anthony Davis today. Don't sleep on Anthony Davis.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I was just going to say AD and Rui for me. If Rui's going to keep playing, plus 30 minutes, 5K is way too cheap for him.
Yeah.
If they're going to keep utilizing AD like this, he's going to be 11.5 in 2 weeks. So 10-1 is a really easy price tag to play on the slate. He's definitely one of the best plays on the entire board. I still think I'm going to be prioritizing Ball. I'm not sure about you, but it's close.
I'm going to play both of them. I think there's so much value today.
Yeah.
I'm literally sitting here and I have a forward spot open and I have 6,400 left over, and I'm like, I could go down and get some of these guys in the $5,500 range because like there's so much value today that I'm not even afraid to leave a little salary on the table to make my lineups different when I'm playing some chalkier value plays because there's just so much value. It's really easy to play Ball and Davis on the same team.
Yeah. And Don Easy in chat makes a good point. LeBron's only 8,900. So if like AD's getting a ton of steam, you could go to LeBron as a little leverage.
If you have a guy that has a little ice cube next to him in the first part of your night and you want to switch to LeBron and maybe upgrade somewhere else, you could do that too. Like you should have multiple players, 9:30 later. Like there's so much good value in those games. So I will say Derek's asking about Connect 4. I really like what I saw from him, but I think there's just so much value today.
I don't think this is the slate to try to get Connect 4. There's so many good plays in that 4K range. There's 335 to 4K. No need to that. Yeah.
smaller slates, take the shots, right? I think you take the shots, but I think on a slate like this, where we have like I would say 6 to 10 people under 5K that can go 7x today. We have that question in the morning grind game.
Yeah.
So yeah, they need to send Bronny to the G League. Yeah, I don't see that happening anytime soon. They need to send Max Christie to the G League. Did you watch him play the other night? Oh my gosh, that was embarrassing.
I did not
Oh.
watch much of that game.
It wasn't
I
pretty.
faded Tatum, so there was no reason for me to watch the next game.
Yeah, I hear you. All right, let's play the morning grind game, and then we'll get out of here for the weekend. Back on Monday. Favorite play under 5K to go 7x. There's a bunch of them. Who do you like?
There's a bunch of them. I'll go Trey Man.
Like all the people on the slate that you could have picked, and that's who you pick. You pick my guy. That's fine. Yeah, that's fine.
I just love that game. So
no, you're fine. I'll take Daniels. In that same game, give me Dyson Daniels. Over 8K to go under 5x. Who's your bust today?
I will go. I'm gonna go Dame.
Yeah, I don't necessarily hate that one. I'm gonna go LeBron James. I know, like we talked about using LeBron as like a pivot, and like LeBron is capable of 60 plus in any matchup. I'll say I really like the idea of pivoting to him if you're behind and you have AD in your lineup. But from an overall perspective of looking at all the fantastic plays we have in this range today, I think LeBron is my least favorite. So I'll go LeBron. I love AD too. I love AD. So favorite 6x play.
I'm gonna go Zach LaVine.
I was really worried you were gonna take my guy again. Like you paused. I was like, oh no. Give me a Kongwu. Love a Kongwu today. I talked about it a lot. Favorite GPP ceiling play? Any price range? Ownership doesn't matter. Who do you think has the highest ceiling on the slate today?
For me, it's AD.
Yeah, I agree with you. He is who I have written down. I obviously have a backup answer written down, but I absolutely love what we saw the Lakers do with AD in the first game. And is it going to continue? Who knows? But watching something change enough where they made it a point to run the offense through Anthony Davis, I don't see that changing enough for me not to love going into a second game here. 1 game sample size, but I love what they did. My overall second pick here is I really wanted to say LaMelo, but Yeezy in chat is a guy that I agree with him. I think Tyrese Maxey in this matchup against Toronto is capable of 70 plus fantasy points. No Embiid, no Paul George. This game, if it stays close, which Vegas is projecting it to stay close, I think Maxey has an incredible GPP ceiling. He doesn't have the floor, which I think is, some risk involved in not taking high floor guys. But I think Maxey is an incredible play here. I love LaMelo. I'll probably end up playing LaMelo over Maxey in my main build because I absolutely love LaMelo and I like that game. I want to kind of game stack that game, but I do like Maxey for ceiling play here. Let's get weird. GPP play of the day, 10% or lower. Who do you think is going to be low owned? That's going to be a difference maker today.
Man, I'm curious what Kessler's ownership is going to be. And then I'll go Miles Turner, but I want to look out for ownership on Kessler as well.
Yeah, I don't hate that. It'd be interesting to see what those guys are looking at. I'm going to go to someone we didn't really talk about him a lot. And one of the reasons I didn't talk about him a lot is because I had him written down for this question. I feel like he's going to just kind of float under the radar today. Karis LeVert, he only played 20 minutes the other night, but that's because he didn't get like his normal fourth quarter run. Used him off the bench. They were winning by game by 30. He looked great. He had a lot of usage of that second unit. And with these guys kind of limited with, who they have right now, if this game stays close, I could see Karis LeVert playing like 25 minutes. No one's going to play Karis LeVert and I kind of like him because of that. He had a really nice assist rate too. So Karis LeVert is my Let's Get Weird GPP play today. I think there's a lot of safer options. Don't get me wrong, but I like taking risk every once in a while, and I think he's someone you can take risk on. Going to the betting portion of the show, do you have a favorite over/under against the spread or moneyline bet today?
I just bet the Cavaliers minus 10.5. And
okay, you're like just going ahead and taking it all.
Yeah, and then I also just bet Zach LaVine over 21.5 points.
All right, solid. You answered both questions. Good job. Both questions in one. So, which it didn't affect me because that's neither one of my bets. So my over/under bet here is I like the Charlotte Atlanta game to go over 229.5. I think that's going to be a high scoring basketball game. And my prop play today, you got to go to an alt line, but I'm going to go over 7.5. Okongwu rebounds for plus 110. His line right now is, I think, 6.5 or 5.5. Whatever his actual line is like minus 160. So I went to the alt line for Okongwu. I love this spot for him. We talked about it in depth. So I bet his over 7.5 at plus 110. Tim, any final thoughts before we get out of here?
Nope. Good luck, everyone. And thanks as always, Stevie. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Appreciate you filling in. I appreciate everyone for hanging out. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. Come hang out with us when we're live here. So, yeah, that's going to wrap it up for Friday. Back Monday. Good luck, everyone. We'll see you then.